Now, first and foremost, we have pretty much done the improvised recheck, meaning that we have pretty much polished most of the novel. It isn't in its complete state yet, but it will be soon. So technically draft 1 has been completed now, which is very nice, very good. And looking into draft 2, we just got to keep adding details, removing things, like the normal editing style. But yeah, the completion of Rotted is actually going very well, and I'm nearing the, not end, but I'm nearing the draft 2 quota. So by Christmas, hopefully, I should have draft 2 maybe finalized. I don't know. I think I'll have the plan to draft 2, less than actually having draft 2. But hey, you never know. If we did National Novel Writers Month for 26 days in November, and then we locked in and we did a full week of editing everything, and then got draft 1, you never know, right? Right now we've been on a extraordinary A+, streak over the month, really. Month and almost a half now. And I really do love posting these videos on YouTube and making these weekly check-ins, and I'm saying and, so that's the internal editor in me. And. These are all my books next to me. There's another pile over there, but my desk is getting a little crowded at the moment because of all the books I own. So the bookshelf will be probably coming over on that wall, so on my other videos you can see that wall. We had to swap here because my laptop, which I normally prop up to face that way, is over there, and I didn't want to bring it over here, so we're going to use the secondary wall, the thumbnail wall. Should it be the thumbnail wall? I don't know. It kind of fits. I like the style. It'd be cooler if it could fully close over and then it'd be the full wall. But then there's also some painting issues here. You can see the line. I don't know. But no, what I'm trying to get at is that I do really like making these videos, and I really do like making these weekly check-ins. The daily posting was fun, don't get me wrong, but it was also a lot to do in the day. But I do think the weekly structure is working a lot better now. And it also means that you guys can come back every so often and see massive improvements rather than micro day-to-day improvements, which I think would just be a better style than consistently editing and posting. Now, for plans for the actual channel, I really am trying and hoping that we can get a video up about something, because right now it's really just the first few videos, poetry. No, the first video was introduction to who I am and what I'm going to do. The second video was poetry. The third video was National Novel Writers Month tips and tricks. And then throughout the month it was daily posting. Eventually that formed into a compilation that's an hour. That's on my channel if you want to go watch it. And then this should be the third weekly check-in. So we haven't really got a variety going here. So I really do hope that we can post a video very, very soon about something outside of daily posting and writing on Rotted. What I was thinking for another video is a concept on a specific purpose or a specific idea or a specific quote. You know, I've been making a lot of quotes recently. I've been posting them on TikTok and they've been doing moderately well, but I do really love the quotes. And I made a quote that I pretty much tattooable quote. I'll just bring you guys over to the wall. So sorry for the shaky camera, but this is up on the wall. So as you can see, we have the first photos down here and then Sunny the Fool. But there's tape right here, and I'm gonna have to, sorry about this guys. I don't know if that'll be backwards, so let's get a second shot. Basically, one rock will eventually quell a river. And what I'm trying to get at that quote being one rock will eventually quell a river, what I'm trying to convey there is sort of one rock will eventually stop a river, you know? Consistency and using multiple rocks will eventually stop a river. I don't necessarily know what you could apply. One rock will eventually quell a river. It's more of a consistency throughout life. That's what I view the quote as. But you could hopefully use it in multiple different ways. I don't really know if you could though. I haven't really thought any further about it, but I've also made some fire quotes, so go check out my TikTok because I do talk about that. And I made a video on Epictetus and how he thinks, Epictetus basically said that suffering is the root of, or imagination is the root of all suffering, right? If you're constantly, most of your suffering, you are consistently imagining it, right? You are thinking of the future and you don't actually realize that, yes, there's a high chance that you could get fired from your job, but there's also a slight chance that you don't. And Epictetus basically says that dwelling on these thoughts and these feelings and trying to picture the future, right, will just make you suffer. Which I do see where he's getting at from there. Where he's basically trying to say that if you are consistently imagining things that are out of your bounds or that could happen, you are making yourself suffer because you're thinking of things that you can't control. And that roots back into the Stoic mindset, which is really interesting, you know? Though I'm reading all these books, I do really like the Stoic mindset. And like reading through some of these books, it's like some really cool ideas that they're bringing on. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. It's kind of embarrassing because all my books over here have like migrated because the bookshelf is coming soon. So they've all made their way to the desk and it's very unorganized. I don't even want to show you guys because it's the state of my desk past this point is like madness. So I don't really want to show you guys. But I've recently been reading The Brothers of Karamazov. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Not good with Russian names. I'm starting to understand that. But I got through the first book. As you can see, we're on book 2 here. Hopefully that picks up. You know it's a good book when Dostoevsky tells you that he needs to introduce the characters before he even starts the book. I've been reading through that and it's been really interesting to just, the book hasn't even started. I'm almost 50 pages deep and the book hasn't even started. He has just talked of the characters and I guess I'm inspired by his way of words. He uses commas a lot, which I think I've inherited now, and it really does show if you do read the first draft of Rotted, there's commas everywhere. It's literally like almost guaranteed 2 commas every sentence. Like it's a rare sight to see a sentence without a comma in my book, which I think could be a problem, but it is also kind of cool, so you know. Alright, I'm editing the video and I thought this would actually be a very cool time to show you guys just how many commas I've used. So this is my entire draft. Hopefully you guys can't see this too well. Don't zoom in, but like as you can see, it's start to finish. It's all the things. If we just search for a comma real quick, so we go comma, all those yellow things are commas. That's the end. There you go, now you got my entire book. What if we do the? Whoa! Eternal editor mode, I used the more than a comma. Holy! What about character name? Yeah, this. You guys have started this. Not that many. What the hell was happening this chapter? I didn't say the dude's name once. Oh no, that would be the different POV. What's another common word? Said? What? Holy moly, I'm awesome at not saying said. I don't know if that's a good or bad. What? This is actually so fun. What's another common word? It's another common word. He? No wonder I haven't said the dude's name. Holy! Well, I know what to edit now. Oh wait, no. So I was just looking at the things. He, so He, right? It actually puts it in 2 words. So for example, then, he, the, those laughed. Okay, so those aren't all actually he's. They're just when the program recognizes He. That was actually very fun, thank you guys. But in regards to the Brothers of Karamazov and Dostoevsky, I've been reading through Crime and Punishment, and if you guys are saying like, you should probably read those, and then Demons, and then The Idiot, and then all the other works, and then the last book, I get where you're coming from, but I'm sort of just going to poke around. And I think when Dostoevsky, because in the Brothers of Karamazov, what I can take from the first book is that it's going to be about religion and these brothers, right? Wow, shocker. But I think Crime and Punishment is cool because it's the deep dive into the psychology and like what happens after you do some bad deeds. Notes from Underground, I haven't finished that. I'm almost done that though. Notes from Underground is a bit of a weird scenario where it's formed like notes. I do like the style, but it's yet again like another field. But I would have to say, out of most of the topics that I talk about, not even on this channel, but just in daily life, I think religion is a big one of those. I don't necessarily believe in any religion yet. Not to say that I will though. But I think reading the Brothers of Karamazov will be interesting, especially from my take of there isn't really religion. But, you know, I'm sort of open to suggestions and ideas. And that's why I read a lot of different philosophers to get their idea, right? You're reading the Stoics and they're like, the future is kind of suffering. Your imagination, probably don't imagine things that aren't going to happen. And that's probably where your suffering's coming from. And then you got Dostoevsky doing these crazy ideas. And then you've got all these other philosophers doing deep dives everywhere else. I would have to say, out of the 2 topics that I sort of divulged from the path, because when I came to my philosophical outlook, I didn't necessarily read on anyone yet. So I sort of came to it fully. And I think when I read about these different ideas, it's a bit hard because it sort of battles with my own thoughts. But that's also where questions arise and things come through. Like, I'm reading The Prince and some bits are like, I mean, he's got a point, but that's kind of bad, you know? Like, I think it's good because where I stand is very different. I don't necessarily slot into one, I guess, religion or one philosophy or one idea. I don't necessarily not fit into everything. I sort of draw from all of them, you know? I sort of take pieces from everything. And I think looking onto that, I do take a lot of pieces from different ideas, right? I'm not nihilistic, but I sort of like the concept that there is no meaning. Because when you're at rock bottom, like Marcus Aurelius would say, God, I'm starting to understand these people in my head. They're starting to talk to me. No, I'm not schizophrenic. But as Marcus Aurelius would say, you know, rock bottom is one of the best places because there's nothing but up. You are at the lowest point, meaning that there's only infinite possibilities. And even if you go back into history, like, God, there's just Alexander the Great, right? Kind of conquered half the world at like before 30. I know, ouch. But Alexander the Great had a great quote, and I don't necessarily know if it was from him, but it sort of shared his same idea. I'm pretty sure it was, but the quote follows, "Nothing is impossible to he who tries," which, well, you know, I guess there's a counter argument where like things are necessarily impossible, but I think the counter argument to the counter argument is that even if you are in a state of trying to achieve something impossible, so if you are trying to stop a bullet, you're not necessarily finished, but you are in that state of trying, meaning that it isn't impossible, it's inherently happening. I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one, but I do really like the quote. And then like, I'm taking on so many different knowledge, not even knowledge, but I'm like taking in different ideas, and it's Not a lot, but it's really interesting to see where people clash and where I personally clash with these people. Also, another side tangent, I think Gilgamesh, dude, the ancient Sumerian king, I believe that's how you pronounce Sumerian, the ancient Sumerian king, 2 parts divine, and Alexander the Great would be best friends. Fight me on that argument, because I necessarily believe that if one of them were to get in a fight, they would probably end up dying, but I feel like there's those similarities where both Gilgamesh and Alexander would bond. But I do think that like Gilgamesh is the Epic of Gilgamesh, if you guys don't know, is this story of this ancient king who tries to find immortality, and he makes a friend, and eventually his friend dies, and he doesn't achieve immortality, and he goes through lots of these crazy events, which are really cool. Definitely go check out the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? You don't have to necessarily read it, but just go check it out, because the ideas that are crossed apart there is very, very, very interesting. And for those of you who don't know Alexander the Great, he was a Macedonian king or prince and then king, and then he sort of just took over half the known world back in the day. So he was kind of cool, Gilgamesh was very cool, and they're both very cool. And I feel like if they were to meet, even though that's impossible, but if they were to meet in their time frames, they would be best friends. I'm sorry, they would be best friends. Alright, I've yapped enough. I think I might make a TikTok about Epic or Alexander and Gilgamesh. I don't know, I've sort of just talked about random things because that's what I've sort of learned throughout the week, that I've learned about Alexander, which is very cool, and the history behind that. I've been reading The Brothers of Karamazov. I've been reading some of these books, which I won't tell you because, surprise, surprise, you'll have to find out. You'll have to watch the next video. You'll have to wait till after Christmas when the bookshelf comes, and you'll have to wait to find out what these books are. Boom, boom, boom. Now you have to watch all my content. Even like most recently, like last night, I watched the Chainsaw Man movie, the Reze arc. Phenomenal movie, by the way. Tatsuki Fujimoto, definitely check that guy out. Oh my days. Everything that Tatsuki Fujimoto touches, man, it's just, you can just tell it's pure creativity. And it is just mashed into this movie or show or manga, and it's just perfectly depicted, and it is just awesome. Like, you can tell whenever he makes a new series or whenever he adds to something, he is doing it purely out of creativity. He's like, if most people were to follow the hero's journey, which if you don't know is basically the common stories, like hero, villain, the common stories. Most people follow the hero's journey and sort of divulge off that path by a little bit. They add a twist which makes the story cool. Yes, that's completely fine. But Tatsuki Fujimoto goes, we're going on the hero's journey, and halfway through we're going to have a major plot twist that makes us turn backwards because it's too good. That metaphor didn't come across too well. Definitely go read the Epic of Gilgamesh, or even just watch like a quick recap on YouTube. Highly recommend. Definitely go check out Alexander the Great. He isn't alive, but go check out what he did. Highly interesting to me at the moment. And definitely go check out Tatsuki Fujimoto, because he is alive right now and he is very cool. And I think that even his ideas, there's a great YouTube video on here called the Tatsuki Fujimoto Effect, where basically his weirdness and his stories have influenced many people, including me to a degree, right? So definitely go check out that YouTube video if you do want to watch it, because that is an amazing YouTube video that I would highly recommend. Enough recommendations, It's kind of weird because I don't necessarily have my story out there, so I can't plug you guys or I can't funnel you guys into my story. I sort of just have to go check out these guys. I don't have anything of my own yet. Well, I do, but I haven't published anything yet, so I can't really go, well, look at this story. But anyways, I will plan to publish, don't worry. We are working on it. But that is pretty much everything. So if you want to go check out my writing journey, highly recommend. Here we go, highly recommending again. Internal editor has spotted that I've used this too many times. So what we're going to do, instead of using the word highly recommend, I'm going to go tell you, please go check out the National Writers Month video on my YouTube channel. It's got every day. Just skip through them if you want. Just watch like day 1, day 15, day 26. You'll probably get all of it. But yeah, definitely go check out that video and subscribe to the channel, or at least keep an eye on me, because we are doing we are doing weekly uploads every Sunday. We're just talking about random stuff. Today was a lot of random stuff. We're also doing progress check-in every Sunday, and yeah, that's basically it. I think it's possible to he who tries, and I'm trying right now. So, like I said, it's a weird state of you kind of end it, you kind of not necessarily need to finish, but I'll talk about it more if you guys want it. That's it. Have fun, guys. Alright, I'm actually out now, so bye, guys.